Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Azazel. This daily seems to be really nice, and the main reason for that, of course, is we're playing as Azazel. We got Blood of the Martyr as our first item, but more importantly, the goal is to Mom's heart. And of course, that isn't the ideal goal in my opinion, but it's one of my favorite goals, and the main reason for that is it's not that long, you don't have to fight harsh, and of course, you only have to go one extra stage, so you can kinda make do with only one Ava's rune. But I think it's especially good if you're playing a character like Azazel, and the main reason being, of course, is we don't have to fight Harsh, and fighting Harsh as a character that basically has no range is a really hard task. But the problem is, if Harsh is available as a goal, you kind of have to do it, because he gives you so many points, and you know that other players are gonna do it as well. So if you want to rank well, or at least have a chance of ranking well, you kind of have to take a shot at it, and usually it does result in your demise. At least you get hit a few too many times, and that's never pleasant. But with the run that goes to Mom's heart, obviously there's no Harsh, which means we can ignore him entirely, and we can kind of focus on other things. And it just seemed to be one of those strong runs, and I do miss those. Sometimes it's just nice to have a really powerful run that you can kind of steam through, and you can maybe focus on other parts of the game instead of just surviving, instead of just trying to get maximum points possible. Of course, later on we got some of the good items, and in this particular one I decided to stick with the devil route, and the main reason for that was, of course, we got some, I would say, I wouldn't call the Book of Sin a good item, and most of the cases I wouldn't really pick it up, but the only reason why I picked it up is I picked up Plan C before that. And I always make sure to pick up Plan C whenever I see it, just to get it out of the pools. It exists in so many different item pools. I think it's in the shop, in the devil deals, in the item rooms, and all of those things are very important when you're actually trying to get to anywhere in the game. And especially seeing maybe you get one or two devil deals, and to see Plan C clogging them up, it's usually quite a bummer. So whenever you can see it, or when I see it for the first time, I make sure to pick it up, and then I kind of stick with it. But of course, in this particular case, because I didn't have any other active items, I couldn't drop it down, so I was kind of stuck with it on my active item slot, and that's usually not that big of a problem, but I'm always so scared that I'm gonna accidentally press it, and it really is the difference of just one spacebar button, and that can actually end your run. So as soon as I saw Book of Sin, I decided maybe this is a good time to trade away my red heart to pick up the Book of Sin, just for the reason that I don't have to hold that item, because I know it's gonna be my demise. One of these days I'm actually gonna press it on accident, and that's just gonna cost me the run, and I guess it's gonna be funny in some regard, but also I don't want it to happen, so I did take the Book of Sin as kind of a precaution. And I think it might have influenced the RNG decisions later on in the run as well, and especially in this particular one, I feel like there were a few routes you can go, and depending on which route you went, it also changed which devil deals, or at least which items you got. And that, of course, depends if you got the devil deals naturally, depending on which ones you picked up prior to that. And then later on, you get some Joker cards. And it's very important on how you use them. It's very important to use them optimally if you actually want to see everything that I wanted to see. But there was also a very random moment where I used Mama Mega on the floor, and this is something maybe not a lot of people know. But essentially, every time you use Mama Mega, of course, what it does is blows up every time you enter a room, deals damage to every enemy, opens up secret rooms and things like that, but it also opens up the boss rush. So as soon as you enter the mom fight, if you have Mama Mega, it opens up boss rush, and it remains open until you leave the room and re-enter. And what's important is that you actually go to boss rush immediately, but what not people realize is that if boss rush opens naturally, and if you open up boss rush with Mama Mega, they're considered different entrances in some regard. And what ends up happening is the items that you get from them are different, which can of course then influence the generation of items later on. And I feel like what happened in this one, I used Mama Mega towards the end of the floor for no other reason than just being a little bit goofy. I felt like I had enough time to actually get to boss rush, so I just thought it would maybe a bit funny to use Mama Mega right here. And that's exactly what happened. And then of course when I entered boss rush, I had two entrances, one from Mama Mega and one that spawned naturally because I beat Mom before 20 minutes. So I decided to enter the one that Mama Mega opened. I went into there, I did boss rush, and then I used the Joker card to teleport to the devil deal. And something intriguing happened. First of all, we got the shovel, which is obviously what we really want here, because we also want that additional floor to get to Shoal, and of course maybe sacrifice Shoal or whatever. But also, if you didn't use the Joker card, or if you didn't go to this devil deal, or maybe depending on which other devil deals you opened up, I'm not really sure what influenced it, but I have heard of people actually using the Joker card, getting to devil deal, and they just didn't get the shovel, which is obviously a bummer, and it will make quite a big difference. And what it seems to happen, I think in my opinion, is the reason of me basically using Mama Mega for nothing but fun purposes, it ended up actually getting me the shovel. And that is just kind of one of those things that you really can't have any control over. Sometimes you're just gonna bound to get lucky because you do a silly thing like this, and sometimes someone else is gonna get lucky. And I feel like this is the variance that we really can't control, but at the same time it feels really bad because of this, essentially got the advantage over so many people who didn't go via this route, and I don't imagine many people would, just because of how obscure it is. Why would you buy Mama Mega when you're playing as Azazel and you have a really strong daily? There's no reason to buy it, because the shop is kind of close to the boss, so using it for only 4 or 5 rooms is kind of a waste of money, and to make it for only this reason is kind of a bummer. But this is what happened, and we were stuck in a position where I feel like it did pay off. Another thing that happened was that was maybe a bit more unprecedented, I guess a bit more insane than just that lucky streak, was I had the jar, and the jar can be used to break the game. And what ends up happening is every time you pick up a heart in the jar, you get consumable points, but every time you drop it, you don't lose any points. So you can kind of keep repeating that until eventually you get just a lot of red bonus. And usually that works much better if you have an item like Magus Bow or maybe Humbling Bundle, because what ends up happening is that those items duplicate the hearts that you drop on the floor or that you pick up, which means that you can kind of generate an infinite amount of them. And when you have a lot of them in a room, obviously you can kind of just stand in the corner and space your spacebar button as fast as possible to get as many points as possible, as quick as possible. But you can also break the game without Humbling Bundle or Magus Bow. It just takes so much longer, because you get something like 2 points per heart, you have to pick them up, you have to drop them on the ground again, and you kind of have to keep doing that. And I was kind of stuck in a weird place between a rock and a hard place, because I had to pick up the shovel, obviously. I have to get down to Shoal to get that extra bonus, and of course another chance at the sacrifice room. So what can I do here? Well, the only logical thing I could do in that situation is to use the jar right there and then, and I only had 4 red hearts, which I picked up over the course of just beating boss rush, and it took me 25 minutes to get 4,000 points, and I could have gotten something like 4,000 points more out of that, so that would have taken me probably like an additional 30 minutes if I was really committed to getting as many points as possible. But I just stopped there because I felt like 25 minutes is kind of enough of a waste of time to get a decent score, and in the end I did end up ranking second. So that play and that streak of luck, I would say, did end up getting me the points. But what maybe I dislike about it is that it wasn't due to skill, or it wasn't due to me just knowing how to read the game. Obviously a little bit of that is also there, but mostly it was just about me being patient and just being extremely lucky, which netted me these high points. That's not to say that you can never make decisions, skillful decisions that would increase your score in average, but I feel like this particular daily was really more of a streak of luck than anything else. But of course we also need some of those to kind of show us, and so we can appreciate the dailies, which maybe are a bit more fair, a bit more. So yeah, we did break with the jar. I just got like 4,000 points out of that. I picked up the shovel, I went to Shoal, and again I got really lucky because there was no sacrifice room in either 1-2 or the Shoal, and I didn't have enough hearts for me to feel comfortable playing it, so I felt like this was kind of turned out for the best. I guess I could have bombed the blue fires and the skulls, and maybe I could have gotten some ways to get more spirit hearts that way, but it's not guaranteed, and obviously it's something more of a chance again. And I ended up playing really well, and honestly the reason why I decided to go with that play, and just why I spent 25 minutes on breaking with the jar, I don't usually do it because I feel like it's a way too big of an investment of time. But I did it because I played well. I only got hit 3 times up until that point, so I felt like I had good chances to actually rank really, really well if I did spend some extra time doing that, and I did end up ranking well. So I guess it was all worth it, but I don't intend on repeating it anytime soon, unless maybe I have another daily like this one where I really feel like I'm doing really, really well. So we're fighting Satan here with brimstone bombs, I mean the sad bombs, and our little brimstone. We were able to dish the first 2 phases pretty much entirely. The third phase is always a bit of a bummer as Azazel because of the leeches. They can explode in your face, especially with an orbital like this. Even if you try to dodge, maybe you dodge into an enemy and then the cube of meat deals damage and explodes in your face, and that's usually not a big deal at all, but it is still damage. It adds up to your damage penalty. But overall we did finish the run with 20,000, not 20,000, with 2,000 damage penalty, with 5,500 time penalty, which I guess could be alleviated a little bit, but then again I did spend a lot of time breaking the game. And here's another little tip. if you try to break the game and you know it's gonna take a lot of time, you want to do it before Womb 1, because before Womb 1 you actually lose half as many points of time penalty as you do later on, so you're essentially cutting that losses to a minimum. So in this particular case I felt like maybe it was a good idea that I broke in depth 2 instead of actually picking up the jar and having it later, because I think it would cost me more time penalty, so I would get something like 2000 points my penalty, and of course that wouldn't allow me to have such a good score like I do now. So having a single digit score is always exciting. I did finish the run. It was a bit of a meh run, I guess. It was just a standard Azazel run. We did get some strong items, some damage upgrades, some speed upgrades, and of course that lucky shovel and the jar, which did allow me to get the second place on Greedbot when you beat out the cheater. So all in all, an exciting daily, especially feels good after the daily we had yesterday, which was also good. So I just feel like I'm on a streak now, and I hope it doesn't stop anytime soon. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.